"Hello again, Percy Jackson," she said. "You and your friends are welcome here. I see you went through with your plan, and now you bear the curse of Achilles. However, I must warn you to be extra careful. You have gained much on your journey, but you are still blind to see the important truth. Perhaps a glimpse is in order." Percy? What is she talking about?" Annabeth asked. He stared into Hestia's eyes, and an image rushed through his mind. He saw two kids standing in an alley with their weapons drawn. It was Percy's old friend, Thalia, with Luke at her side. Thalia was exactly the same as he'd seen her before, but Luke was years younger than Percy had ever seen him, about 14 at least. This must have been back in the day when they were on the run, back before Grover found them. Thalia carried her same spear and her Aegis shield, while Luke carried a familiar bronze knife. They both stood in front of a sheet of metal with their weapons ready. Luke counted silently. 1, 2, 3. He lifted the metal, and a little girl flew at them with a hammer. But Luke grabbed her and she dropped her hammer. He managed to hold her tight with one arm, but she kept kicking and fussing. For Luke, it was like trying to hold down a wild animal. "No more monsters! No more monsters!" the girl cried. "Whoa, wait, Thalia, put your shield away, you're scaring her," Luke told her, and she did. "Hey, little girl," Thalia said. She made her voice sound much sweeter than Percy had ever heard before. "It's okay. We don't want to hurt you. Monsters!" "No, I swear, we're not monsters," Luke said, "but we know a lot about them. We fight them sometimes, too." Slowly, the girl stopped fussing and studied the two of them with their large, intelligent-looking gray eyes. Just looking into those eyes, they could tell that this little kid was a demigod, and they were sure of it. As far as they knew, she would grow up to be really strong, and smart, and powerful, and beautiful. "You're like me?" she asked. "Yeah," Luke said. "I'm Luke, and that's Thalia. You see, we're—" Luke paused for a while. The little girl couldn't have been any more than 7 years old, so she probably didn't know as much as they did. Even with those intelligent-looking gray eyes, it was possible she didn't quite understand exactly what they were, or what she was. It was possible she never actually heard of the word demigod. "Well," Luke continued, "it's kind of hard to explain, but you see, we're monster fighters. Where's your family?" The girl's shocked expression faded to a frown. "My family hates me. They don't want me. I ran away." Luke and Thalia locked eyes. They both could relate to what she was saying. "What's your name, kiddo?" Thalia asked. "Annabeth." "Pretty name," Luke said, smiling. "Tell you what, Annabeth, you seem pretty tough. We could use a fighter like you." Little Annabeth's eyes widened. "You could?" "Oh yeah," Luke said. "In fact, how would you like a real monster-slaying weapon?" He pulled out his knife and showed it to her. "This is celestial bronze," Luke explained. "It works a lot better than a hammer." Under most circumstances, offering a weapon to a little kid may not have been the smartest thing. But this was different. This girl was a demigod, which meant you always needed a good monster-slaying weapon handy 24/7, so that leaves regular rules out the window. "It doesn't do much damage as a sword does, but it can find weak spots," Luke said. "It takes the bravest and cleverest warriors to use a knife, and you seem pretty clever, Annabeth." "I am clever," said little Annabeth. "Well, we better get moving, Annabeth," said Thalia. "We have a safe house on the James River. We'll get you some food." You're not gonna take me back to my family, are you?" Annabeth asked. "Promise?" "You're part of our family now," said Luke, "and I promise you, I will never let anything hurt you ever. I won't fail you like our family failed us. Deal?" Little Annabeth smiled happily and said, "Deal." "Come on," Thalia said. "We can't stay put for long." The image changed, and the kids were standing across from Luke's mom's house. "Luke, please," Thalia said. "What if she catches you? Plus, you said you would never go back." "There's not much choice," Luke said. "You need something for that wound." Before he could walk to the door, he was pushed off his feet by a golden flash. Hermes appeared right in front of them. "How dare you?" he said. Suddenly, the vision shut off. Percy fell to his knees. "Percy? What happened? What's wrong?" Annabeth asked. Did you see that?" he asked. "See what?" He looked at Hestia, and her face was expressionless. He remembered something she told him back at Luke's house. "If you are to understand your enemy Luke, you must understand his family." But why did she show him those scenes? "How long was I out?" he asked Annabeth. "Percy, you weren't out at all," she said. "You just stood there staring at Hestia for like 1 second, and then you just collapsed." He realized all eyes were on him. He couldn't afford to look weak. Whatever those visions meant, Percy had to stay focused on the mission. He turned back to Hestia and said, "Lady Hestia, we've come on urgent business. We need to—" "We know what you need," a familiar voice echoed. The messenger god Hermes appeared right next to Hestia. "I will leave you now," said Hestia, and she disappeared in a wisp of smoke. Hermes had a serious look on his face, and Percy wondered if he knew about the vision he saw. But he figured now that wasn't the best time to ask. "Lord Hermes," he said, bowing, "it's very important that right now that we talk to Zeus." "Well, I am his messenger," Hermes said. "Can I take a message?" Then Percy thought maybe it was better that they talked in private. So he asked the other campers to take 30 minutes to go check on the defenses on Olympus. "My lord," Annabeth said, "Kronos is about to attack New York. My mother must have foreseen it." "Don't get me started on your mother, young lady," Hermes said. "She's the reason I just stopped by here. None of us wanted to leave our home unguarded, but your mother kept pestering Lord Zeus on and on and on. She's the one reason we all made the decision to go face Typhon, who, by the way, is now only halfway from his old prison to our home. He has just passed through the city of St. Louis." "Do you have any idea what those blue lights were?" Annabeth asked. "Some sort of magical work from the goddess Hecate," Hermes answered, "but you may have noticed they have not done any damage. The Olympians may be absent, but Olympus isn't all that defenseless. Elias, the god of the winds, has sent his most powerful minions to set up a perimeter above New York. No one but the gods can approach Olympus from the air. If any of our enemies dare to try, they will be knocked out of the sky." "What about that popping out of thin air move that you guys do?" Percy asked. "That is also a form of air travel, Mr. Jackson. You may be fast, but the winged gods are faster. No, if Kronos wants to take down Olympus, he would have to march his way into the streets, into the Empire State Building, and make his way up here through the elevator. Can you see him doing that?" As ridiculous as it sounded, Percy knew he was right. He didn't like it, but he was right. "Well, maybe just a few gods can come over? Please?" he asked Hermes. "You don't understand, Percy Jackson," Hermes said. "Typhon is the most powerful and worst enemy we gods have ever faced. Ever." "I thought that was Kronos." "No, Percy," Hermes said. "In the old days, Olympus was almost overthrown by Typhon. He is the husband of Echidna and the father of the first generation of monsters. We can never forget how close he came to destroying us all. It was easier in the old days. Now, your father has his own war to worry about in the seas, and Hades sits in his realm and does nothing, and Demeter and Persephone follow in his lead. We cannot expect any help from them. We cannot divide our forces, nor wait for him to reach New York. We must battle him now, with all our remaining power. and we're already making progress. He's in Kentucky right now, and he's already slowing down.
Please, Lord Hermes, said Annabeth, you said my mother wanted to come. Did she give you any messages for us?
Ah, yes, he said. She asked me to warn you that you will be on your own. You must hold Manhattan without our help. She also said to try Plan 23. She said you already knew what that meant. From the look on her face, she probably didn't know what it meant, and she didn't like it. Oh, and she also had a message for you, Percy, Hermes said. She said to remember the rivers, and also something about staying away from her daughter, too. They weren't sure whose face was redder. Then Annabeth said,
Thank you, Lord Hermes, and I wanted to apologize again about Luke.
His expression hardened. I'm afraid apology does not cut it. You should have helped him when you had the chance. You were the only one who could have. His body glowed and disappeared. Annabeth fell to her knees and started crying. Percy wanted to comfort her, but he wasn't sure how. Annabeth, he said, look, I'm sure Hermes was just looking for someone to blame. I don't know why he took it out on you, but it's not your fault. She blinked the tears out of her eyes and said, Percy, did you bathe in the river Styx? Oh, come on, don't change the subject now, he said.
Hestia said you bear the curse of Achilles. Did you or not?
Maybe a little, he said. He told her about his time in the underworld and how he dipped himself in the river. He left out the part of seeing her in a vision. He still didn't quite understand that part, and it was kind of embarrassing.
Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?
I didn't have much choice, he said. It's the only way I can stand against Luke.
You mean De Immortalis, of course, she said. That explains why he didn't die on Mount Arthurus. He went to the Styx and... Oh, gods! What could he have been thinking?
Oh, so now you're worried about Luke again, Percy argued.
What?
I'll forget it. He wondered what Hermes meant about her not saving Luke. Apparently there was something she wasn't telling him. But then he decided she wasn't in the best mood to hear about it now. The last thing he needed was more history with her on Luke. Look, he said, the point is neither of us died, but I have to face him, and we have to defend Olympus. She studied him like she was trying to find any differences in him since his dip in the Styx.
I guess you're right, she said, and we have a lot of work to do. Maybe now's the time to use that Plan 23 that my mom mentioned. If she really wants us to use it, the situation must be pretty serious. In that message she had for you about the rivers, what do you think that meant?
Percy honestly had no idea, but then the subject changed when one of the Stoll brothers came back in. Guys, you gotta see this,